Kath Megaw. I'm a pediatric dietitian, and I've partnered with PediaSure to bring you a wonderful series on picky eating. And over this vlog series, we've covered a number of topics, including constipation, feeding during illness, the sensory eater, and today we're going to talk about the psychological impact of food battles. And this is one of my favorite topics because I have seen picky eaters create and divide families because of their picky eating behavior. And so today I hope to bring you a few tips that will help you take back some power if you've lost that in your home amidst the food battles. So my first advice to you is don't go into a food battle because you will always lose, because that little one just has a way of overpowering you so easily, because feeding is so important to us as parents. You know, when our children have eaten well during the day, we go to bed at night thinking that we've conquered the world and we feel so accomplished and we've achieved so much. Yet this opposite is also true. So on days when our kids have eaten so poorly and they've really had a fussy eating day, we go to bed feeling like a failure and like we're the worst parent ever. And I think it's there that we need to kind of stop and just take stock of what is exactly going on. So why is it that this makes such an impact on us and the way we feel about ourselves and our ability to parent? And the reason is that kind of it's our fundamental job to keep our children alive. And one of the ways we do this is to feed them nutritious foods. And so if we're not getting that right, we just feel we're not doing our job. And we all want to do a good job, especially when it comes to our children. So it's totally understandable that you'll feel despondent, exhausted, and maybe a bit frustrated. There might even be conflict between you and your partner because maybe you've each got different ideas of how you should fix this picky eating problem. And children are very clever. They pick up on the tension and they pick up on kind of playing the two off against each other. So it's really important that there is consistency and that the two of you are on the same page, and that if you say no about certain things, that is no, and that they understand and know their boundaries. So if children have boundaries, they are going to feel secure. And the same comes when it comes to eating. So it's not about sitting down and eating all the peas on your plate. That's not what I'm talking about. But I am talking about that there are certain areas when it comes to feeding that is your responsibility as the parent, and certain areas that is the child's responsibility. And when you get those two mixed up, therein lies the challenge with food battles. So your responsibility as parents is that you set the child up to win when it comes to eating. So you set the time of the feeding time, you set the place where you're going to offer the food, and you then offer the food. You actually may go out, buy the food, prepare the food, and then offer the food. Once you've done that, your responsibility is over then. How much the child eats at that particular time then is entirely up to them. And if you are starting to take the responsibility of how much they eat, that creates force feeding and anxiety and fighting and stress. And if the child starts to take the responsibility of where they're going to eat, so they get up and they run to the other room in the house or they run outside with their food, then that also creates chaos and it just makes feeding really difficult. Or if they take responsibility and look at the food and go, I don't want this, I want that, and you rush off into the kitchen and you create another meal in the hope they'll eat that, and that comes out and then they don't want that, so you go back and you make another meal again and you become a short order cook, then you are going to feel very stressed. You're going to have wasted a lot of food, which is going to frustrate you. And your child just goes, well, this has been fun. I've just watched you run back and forth all day. So it's really important that once you've decided on what's going to be eaten today, that's the food that's provided and that's it. There's no other options for that particular meal. However, having said that, what you provide will rely on really what your child enjoys eating. So if your child enjoys eating certain foods that are healthy, you're going to make sure that those are included in meal times. Even if their repertoire is very little, they're just going to get those foods repeatedly. And then you can use the strategies that we've mentioned in some of our vlogs of how to incorporate the new foods. But you are definitely not going to give them a meal where nothing is familiar to them or where they don't like or can't tolerate anything on that plate, because that's just setting them up to lose, and that's just not fair on on them. What's also really important to understand to avoid psychological food battles is to understand the different developmental stages of your child. So your toddler, which was maybe a very easygoing feeder as a baby, suddenly realizes that he has a say in what he eats and what he can choose. And so he starts to assert his will, not because he doesn't want the food or he does want the food, but just because he can, because that's what toddlers do, like they do with their clothes, like they do with their bedtime, like they do with a whole lot of things. They kind of push, push, push. And the same happens with food. And food is very effective because it does get you anxious and it does get you responding. So they get a reaction, which is a lot of the time what toddlers are looking for. What is important also to remember is that the toddler's appetite decreases drastically around that age between 2-3 years old. And that's because their body growth has slowed down exponentially. If they had to continue growing like they did when they were babies, they would be giants by the age of 10. And so they have to slow down. And because of that, they don't have this ferocious appetite. And so they might have good eating days where they eat a lot more, and then slower eating days where they eat a lot less. And it's in those days where they're eating a lot less that you must relax, knowing that the good eating days are coming. And that's where having a supplement like PediaSure on board is wonderful for those poorer eating days where you can know you can kind of fill the gaps from what was missed during the day. Then as your child grows and they go off to preschool, they suddenly are eating maybe something away from home for the first time, out in a new environment. Some children eat really well when they go away from home. Others don't eat well at all and prefer to eat at home. So it is really important that you understand where your child is at and what the school environment is like. Do you pack a snack box? What other kids are eating? Does the school offer meals? What is the school offering? So you can take advantage of the school meals, and then when they come home, you can just relax and give them an easy supper that's easy for them to eat and rather just enjoy them. And that is so important in avoiding food battles, is to just actually spend time enjoying your child outside of food. If the main time they're getting most of your attention is around feeding, they will play up a lot more because then they get your attention. So make sure that you're giving them a lot of positive attention and positive reinforcement outside of meal times so that they don't need meal times to get your attention. So these are little tips and ways that you can avoid psychological impact of food on you, on your child, and on the family as a whole. And by doing that, you'll have a happier food journey, a happier child, a happier home environment, and you'll enjoy the whole food journey a lot better.